This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information and to find out how you can volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Kathy of www.skippopscratch.com. Domestic Cookery, Useful Recipes and Hints to Young Housekeepers by Elizabeth E. Leah. Chapter 13. Butter, Cheese, Coffee, Tea, etc. Butter. It is of the first importance that everything connected with milk and butter should be kept clean. If the milk acquires an unpleasant taste, it communicates it to the butter. Tin pans are best to keep milk in, and they should be painted on the outside to keep them from rusting when they are put in water. In summer, milk should be kept as cool as possible. Before it is strained, the pans and strainer should be rinsed with cold water, and the milk not covered until it is cold. As soon as the cream rises sufficiently, it should be skimmed, and put in a large tin bucket with a lid that fits down tight, and stirred every day. Butter will be spoiled by neglecting to stir the cream. A yellow scum will form on it, which gives it an unpleasant taste. And if you leave a pan of milk till the cream is covered with spots of mold, you had better throw it away than put it in, as it will spoil the taste of the whole churning. If you have no way of keeping your cream cool in hot weather, it ought to be churned twice a week, the earlier in the morning the better. Always put cold water in your churn the night before you use it, and change it in the morning just before you put in the cream. When the butter is gathering, take off the lid of the churn to let the heated air escape, and move it gently. Have your butter ladle and pan scalded and cooled. Take out the butter and work it till all the milk is out. Scrape some lumps of salt and work in. Cover it up and set away in a cool place till the next morning, when work it again. If you have neither an ice or spring house, a box by the side of the pump, with a cover over it, is very convenient to put cream and butter down the well. Put them in tin kettles with covers to fit tight, and fasten them to strong tarred ropes 20 feet long. The air of a well will keep butter sweet for several weeks in the hottest weather. It is best to have one kettle or basket to put the butter in that is used at the table, and it should be deep enough to hold 5 or 6 plates, each covered with a saucer. It can be kept in this way as firm and sweet as in an ice house. You can have a separate kettle to put a large lump of butter in for seasoning vegetables. If you print butter for home use, it is not necessary to weigh it. Make it out in little lumps that will weigh about ½ a pound, scald the print and ladle, and put them in cold water. As you print each lump, lay it on a dish. In winter it is more difficult to have good butter, as much depends on the food of the cows. The milk should be kept in a cellar, where it will not freeze. If you have a safe to keep it in, it need not be covered. Cream takes much longer to rise in winter, after it has stood 2 days. To put it on the top of a moderately heated stove will assist it. When it is hot, set it away to skim the next day, when the cream will be thick and rich, and churns easier. If the weather is very cold and the cream has been chilled, have a large pot of water over the fire. Set in the bucket when it is near boiling heat, and keep stirring till it is milk warm. Have the churn scalded and put it in. By churning steadily it will come as quickly as in summer. One good working answers very well for butter in winter. Always scald the churn before you put in the cream in cold weather. To put up butter for winter. Work it well, and salt it rather more than for table use, and pack it in stone pans or jars, with a thin cloth on the top, and salt on it an inch thick. Keep it in a cool place, and if it is sweet when made, it will keep good till spring. It should be tied up with paper to exclude the air. To cure butter that will keep for a long time. Reduce separately to a fine powder 2 pounds of the best fine salt, 1 pound of loaf sugar, and ½ pound of saltpetre. Sift these ingredients one above another on a large sized sheet of paper, then mix them well together. Keep this mixture covered up close in a nice jar, and place in a dry closet. When your butter is worked and salted in the usual way, and ready to put in the jars, use 1 ounce of this composition to every pound of butter. Work it well into the mass. Butter cured in this way, it is said, will keep good for several years. I have never kept it longer than from the fall until late in the spring. It was then very sweet and good. It will not do to use for a month, because earlier the salts will not be sufficiently blended with it. It should be kept in wooden vessels or nice stone jars. Earthenware jars are not suitable for butter, as during the decomposition of the salts they corrode the glazing, and the butter becomes rancid and unhealthy. A friend of mine, and a lady of much experience, remarked on reading the above, "This is an admirable recipe, and by attention to its directions, butter may be packed away with success even in the summer months. Thus, in cities during warm weather, butter is often cheap, a housekeeper may then purchase her winter supply." Select that which is sweetest and most firm, begin by putting a layer of the prince in the bottom of a stone pot, press the butter down close, so that no cavities for the admission of air may remain, then strew more of the mixture over it, proceed in this manner until the vessel is filled, when put on the top a small muslin bag filled with salt, and tie the jar up close. It is very important to keep the butter in a cool place. A great deal depends on the butter being well worked. Persons that have large dairies should always have a machine to work it. A large churning may be more effectively cleared of the buttermilk in a few minutes than in the old way in an hour. By doing it quickly, it does not get soft and oily in hot weather. A pickle for butter. To 3 gallons of water add 4½ pounds of good brown sugar, 1½ ounces of saltpetre, 1 ounce of saleratus. Put them into an iron pot, and let them come to a boil. Take off the scum. When cold it is ready for use. The butter should be salted in the usual way, and well worked, then made into rolls of 2 or 3 pounds each. Have little bags of coarse muslin, tie each roll in a bag, and put them in a large stone jar or clean firkin. When the pickle is entirely cold, pour it over, and put a plate on the top, with a weight on it to keep the butter under. Tie it up close, and keep it in a cold place. When a roll is wanted, take it out of the bag, and slice it off for table use. It should be put on little plates, and each covered with a saucer, to exclude the air. If the butter is good when put up in the fall, it will keep till you can get grass butter in the spring. The jars for this purpose should not have been previously used for pickles. Cheese. Persons living in the country sometimes have more milk than they can use, of which cheese may be made. Pour 4 gallons of new milk in a clean tub that is kept for the purpose. Skim your night's milk, and put 2 gallons of it over the fire. When it is near boiling, put it in the tub with the new milk and the rest of the night's milk. It should be rather more than milk warm. If that is too warm, the cheese will have a strong taste. The day before you make cheese, put a piece of rennet, 3 inches square, in a teacup of water, and stir it in the milk. Cover the tub, and let it stand in a warm place. When the whey comes through the cloth, you can dip it off with the saucer, then put a thin towel in the cheese vat. Put in the curd, spread the cloth over the top, put on the lid, and press it moderately about half an hour. Then put it back in the tub, and salt it to your taste. Mix it well, and if you want it very rich, put in 1/4 pound of butter. It is always better to skim the night's milk and put in butter, as the cream is apt to press out. Have a clean cloth in the vat, put in the curd, close it over, and put on the cover. If you have no cheese press, a heavy stone will answer the purpose. Press it very gently at first, to keep the richness from running out. The next morning draw it out by the cloth, wash and wipe the vat, put in a clean cloth, and turn in the cheese upside down. Do this morning and evening for 2 days. When you take out the cheese and put it on a clean board, set it where the mice and flies will not get at it. Rub it every morning with a little butter, and turn it 3 times a day. Dust it over with cayenne pepper if you cannot keep it from the flies, and if it should crack, plaster on a piece of white paper with butter. It is fit for use in 2 weeks. Cheese made in this way has a rich, mild taste, and most persons are fond of it. If you get 8 gallons of milk a day, you may make cheese twice a week, and still have butter for the family. You should keep 4 thin cloths on purpose for cheese. Pennsylvania cream cheese. The cheese called by this name is not in reality made of cream. Take 3 gallons of milk, warm from the cow, and strain it into a tub. Have a piece of rennet 2 inches square, soak it in half a pint of water for several hours, drain off the water and stir it in. When it is sufficiently turned, cut the curd, spread a thin linen cloth over the top, and as the whey rises, dip it off with a saucer. Put the curd as whole as possible into a cheese hoop about the size of a dinner plate, first spreading a wet cloth inside, then fold the cloth smoothly over the top. Put a weight on the top heavy enough to make the whey drain out gradually. In 6 or 7 hours it will be ready to take out of the press, when rub it over with fine salt, set it in a dry, dark place, change it from one plate to another twice a day, and it will be fit for use in less than a week. To prepare rennet for making whey or cheese. When the rennet is taken from the calf, wash it, lay it on a plate well covered with salt, put more on in 2 days, keep it in a cold place, in 3 or 4 days it will do to stretch on sticks, hang it up in a dry cool place, with as much salt as will stick to it. When quite dry, put it in a paper bag and hang it up. A piece 2 inches square soaked in 2 tablespoonfuls of water will make a cold custard. The same piece salted and dried will do several times. Cottage cheese or smear case. The best plan for making this dish is to set the tin pan of clabber on a hot stove, or in a pot of water that is boiling over the fire. When the whey has risen sufficiently, pour it through a colander, and put the curd or cheese away in a cold place, and just before going to table, season it with salt and pepper to your taste, and pour some sweet cream over it. Roasting coffee. Pick out the stones and black grains from the coffee, and if it is green, let it dry in an oven, or on a stove, then roast it till it is a light brown. Be careful that it does not burn, as a few burnt grains will spoil the flavor of the whole. White coffee need not be dried before roasting, and will do in less time. 2 pounds is a good quantity to roast for a small family. The whites of 1 or 2 eggs, well beaten, and stirred in the coffee when half cold, and well mixed through it, are sufficient to clear 2 pounds, and is the most economical way of using eggs. It will answer either for summer or winter. Some people save eggshells for clearing coffee. Many persons use coffee roasters, but some old experienced housekeepers think that the fine flavor flies off more than when done in a Dutch oven and constantly stirred. If you are careful, it can be done very well in the dripping pan of a stove. Let the coffee get quite cold, and put it away either in a canister or a tight box, and keep it in a dry place. Coffee may be roasted in a dripping pan in a brick oven. After the bread is taken out, there will be heat sufficient. Put about 2 pounds in a pan, stir it a few times, it will roast gradually, and if not sufficiently brown, finish in a stove or before the fire. If you have a large family, by using several pans, 6 pounds of coffee can thus be roasted, and but little time spent on it. Boiling coffee. A large teacupful of unground coffee will be sufficient for 6 persons, unless they take it very strong, which is injurious to health. Grind it and put it in the tin pot, with half a teacup of cold water, and the white of half an egg. Shake it till it is mixed, then pour boiling water on it, and let it stand close to the fire, and just come to a boil. Stir it, and do not let it boil over. Let it keep at boiling heat 5 or 10 minutes, then take it from the fire, and put in half a teacup of water to settle it. Let it stand 5 minutes, and pour it off. If you wish it particularly nice, strain it through a thin linen cloth kept for the purpose. Keep it by the fire till it goes to table. If you boil coffee too long, the aromatic flavor flies off. Tea and etc. Always be sure that the kettle is boiling when you make tea, or the flavor will not be so good. Scald the pot, and allow a teaspoonful for each person. Let green tea draw by the fire from 2 to 5 minutes. Black tea should be drawn 10 minutes, and it is much more suitable for delicate persons than green. Persons with weak nerves should never drink strong tea and coffee. I have known instances of persons being afflicted with violent attacks of nervous headache, and they were cured by giving up the use of tea and coffee altogether, and their general health was also improved by it. Before pouring out tea, it should be stirred with a spoon, that the strength of each cup may be alike. Milk is the best drink for children, but if that cannot be had, sweetened water with a little milk will do. A new mode of preparing chocolate. Have a pound of chocolate pulverized and put in a jar, with the same quantity of rice flour and an ounce of arrowroot. Put on the coals a quart of milk. When it boils, stir in a heaped tablespoonful of the above preparation, dissolved in a teacup of water. Keep stirring it until it boils again, then pour it out. Drink it with sugar and cream to your taste. This is called by some Rackehout chocolate, and is very nice for delicate persons, as well as those in health. Chapter 14.